Welcome to the Old Souls and Seekers podcast, a podcast that transcends the typical personal development journey. You're not new to this. You've read the books, attended the seminars, and perhaps even tried various coaching programs, yet something still feels amiss. Ilan and Guy have over 2 decades of relentless searching and $1 million invested in their personal growth quest. Here's the revelation. You're not missing anything. You're not even behind. You might have just been searching in the wrong places. In each episode, we'll uncover the most effective, straightforward practices that have profoundly impacted our lives and the tens of thousands of our clients from all over the world. This is about real, sustainable results for those dedicated to their personal and spiritual growth. So get ready to explore and enjoy the show.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Please don't be shy and say hello in the chat box at the very least. Always nice to at least read you, if not see you. Hey. There's a few more coming in. Yeah, guys, you're coming in. Say hello. Let your digital voices be heard in some manner. I'd love to get a pulse from you guys if there's any topics that feel near and dear to you, and if we find some kind of patterning, perhaps we can talk about it. Ilan's going to be here in a few minutes. He's had some really rigorous full days on calls, so I think he just finished up. He'll be here in a bit. Yeah, I'd love to just kind of get a pulse on what's in the space. There seems to be week in and week out like themes of things people are dealing with. We run these coaches training for your coaches. All right, so we'll have to get to that in a second. We run these coaches trainings every 2 weeks to coach your coaches on coaching you. And today was about as heavy of a day as I can remember in like 7 or 8 years in terms of just some of the stuff that's going on in the community. And so I want to say that not to start off on a sad note, although some of these circumstances are very sad and very difficult. I want to say that because that's life. And we've had, we've supported people in this community through just about every circumstance that you can imagine. And it always, even in my early years of being in personal development, I would be in these 3-month programs and there'd be, roughly 100 people in the room. And within that time frame, I would always see that within like a 3.5 month period, like every aspect of life, every challenging and beautiful thing would arise within that room. I mean, we even had a woman that I used to coach. I'm not joking that she was actually at our last live event in San Diego too. She came to that as well. That while I was coaching her, she went into to do some artwork. I don't exactly remember the story, but she got her hand caught in this machine, and the machine actually, sorry for the graphic nature of this, but cut off her finger. And not only did it cut off her finger, but she got stuck in this machine and was basically bleeding out. This thing had just happened. She was in there for 30 minutes and it was late at night. Nobody was around. And somehow within 30 minutes, somebody walked in there and saw this happen to her and saved this woman's life. And I'll never forget it because she stood up on stage a few weeks later after, she had somewhat recovered and, of course, physical trauma, mental, emotional trauma, things of that nature. And she vowed that she was going to be the first person who, through intention and possibility, was going to regrow her finger. So I actually knew her and her husband well when this was happening. And I share that story, hopefully not to gross you out, but, I saw her many years on later and she was doing some really beautiful healing and channeling work and became a rather gifted, energetic healer in her own right. And then, like I said, had come to our last time we did a live event here in San Diego. She was actually there. And so you just never know what's going on. If you are not dealing with health challenges, if you don't have, some really intense trauma in your life, I know interpersonally our personal challenges can feel great. They could feel really, really intense. And I'm not taking anything away from any sort of challenges or things you that might be going on in your life. Sometimes it's not circumstantial. Sometimes it's just an emotional experience that we're in, and a bind that we feel, or an energetic or emotional experience that we're having, and it could just level you, At the end of the day, I've come to realize, at least from my own experience, I can only speak for the stories I've generated within myself, and you could take it or leave it. It's up to you. We all get to generate our own reality and our own stories. I've had an extraordinarily challenging emotional, mental, spiritual journey in this life, but my challenges have been mostly internal. I'm sure I've lived in many other lifetimes where they were largely external and wrought with really intense threats and stuff like that. And I've had to process those things in this life, which could be why so much of it is internal. Having said that, I'm grateful that in this particular life for myself, that I've had the opportunity to live a life that mostly has given me an opportunity to be an introspective human being, that has given me the resource and the time and the desire to seek out great teachers who have taught me incredible things about humanity, about ourselves, about myself, and that have allowed for me to what seems to be like an elevation and evolution of the self. And I'm grateful that I have the desire and the motivation to share those things with you. And I say that because even in my most challenging moments, and there have been wildly challenging experiences that I've gotten to go through, I've come out of them and I've felt an air of gratitude for the ease, honestly, for the gentle nature in which I've gotten to have my lessons. I'm sure Ilan would echo that as well. So, if you are in a place that might feel challenging, again, I don't want to take anything away from that, because it's impossible to compare one trauma to the next or how a person is dealing with any specific experience. But if you're not dealing with a health crisis, if you're dealing with a loss of a loved one right now, like even if it's really, really challenging for you, you could have an air of gratitude. We can hold both. And in the intuitive mind class, one of the things we talk about is like having two contradictory ideas. Could your awareness hold two contradictory ideas and not explode, not blow up? Because in society, it seems like that's not the case. Most people are unwilling or unable to hold two contradictory ideas. They really latch onto one side of the equation or the other, and they believe that they have all the puzzle pieces, which we intuitively know is not true. And there is something about playing with both, and there is something about bringing our awareness to both. Life is never just all challenges, and it's never all just bliss either, right? It really is the both of them. And even when we're in a challenging moment, could we find spaciousness in our body, spaciousness in our awareness? Could we find, I don't know, just looking out a window and noticing a tree and connecting with nature through our awareness and feeling gratitude that our world is so beautiful and so colorful and an inspiring place to live for the most part. And for all the challenges that people are facing all around the world, there's also just magnificent, magnanimous, beautiful things happening everywhere in the world. People supporting each other, people loving each other, people helping each other in moments of crisis, people that care about the plant world and the animal world and are protecting that and making sure that our generations tomorrow will have beautiful spaces to be in. And so that it's not all capitalistic and corporatocracy and all the different crazy things that we see on a regular basis. At the end of the day, could we zoom out? And yeah, the human stuff can be really hard. I don't think there's a soul on this planet that's probably not an advanced soul. Embodying, from being all light and divinely connected to all things, and then choosing to come to this planet and embody in third density in a body that experiences, in the psyche that mostly experiences life through the air of suffering, has got to be no small feat. This is where the pro athletes come to play. This is not a simple place to always be. Having said that, it's also, if the souls are coming here and we're coming here, one of the things we get to also consider is that if you do believe in reincarnation and embodiments prior to this, that not all your embodiments have been on this planet. some of them, maybe lots of them have been on this planet, but you've also probably embodied elsewhere where you have been in extremely advanced societies. I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that, as we come to this really beautiful pinnacle in our spiritual awareness, that elsewhere in the universe, there have been societies that have been in that evolution and beyond for many millions of years. I don't think that's that far of a stretch to think about that. And so some of us have lived in extremely advanced societies, spiritually, technologically, emotionally, and we bring that through with us here. Why are we seeing such a growth in population over the last 100 years? And I believe if we look at it less from a human perspective and more the energy that's coming to the planet and the resource that's coming here to elevate this consciousness, at least for me, that gives me like a bit of a relief. I always say, with this many souls coming to this planet at this time, it's like, this is, front row seats to something. Are they coming for the end, or are they coming for the beginning? I don't, I think most of us have come here to see through something that's been in motion on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. And we're kind of getting towards the finish and beginning line of that as well. Right. So, I just want to say, if you're in our community and you're dealing with something that's really, really challenging, there's very little anybody can say in terms of condolences that are going to make your situation go away. Words don't make situations go away. There probably are some situations where a person could say something that would offer a great sense of relief, like "you're hired" or "I do," things like that. But for the most part, it's like the most valuable thing we can offer is our support for somebody in terms of our presence. Like, I see you while you're going through this, because the challenging moments, they can create a lot of constriction in our system. And we go into a bit of a fight or flight response or a freeze response. And this energy that we call emotion, right? Emotion, can get stuck in your system and start causing a lot of distortions in the way that your body feels, in the way that your psychology starts operating. And so magic happens when that's met, when you have somebody there with you, connecting with you, offering you presence. That energy can move through, and the lessons, challenges become opportunities for growth. And we all know God works in really, really mysterious ways, and souls come here with all sorts of missions and all sorts of ways to teach a person or teach a collective something really important that needs to be learned. And I hope, that at least that narrative has given me a lot of solace in my lifetime, because it allows me to kind of like zoom out and look for the bigger picture, and not just look at that, just peer through my human suffering and the challenges that being human naturally and inevitably brings. And this work is about accessing the connection to that bigger picture, to the divine intelligence, right? Because if we can live in that state and we can see things from that place, it's very beautiful. We were on our level 3 call yesterday, and a woman who over this last year has really been dealing with a situation that most of us would never trade spots with somebody to experience that. And she was saying that this has been the hardest year of my life. And simultaneously, like, the gratitude she has for being in this container, in this community, to get support when that's happening. And that stuff happens a lot. Like, people come to us and like they're transitioning in their job and their marriages and their relationships and where they're living, and people pass away and health challenges arise. Like, Ilan and I, nobody can make that stuff go away. That's what arises in life. And when you're in a community, chances are you're going to be hearing about those things all the time, because even within a small community, like I said, 3-6 months go by, it's like every little nook and cranny and thing of life shows up at the same time. And then the last thing I want to say, and hey, bro, is we talk about this a lot in the more advanced training and even in intuitive mind, where it's like, I think empathy on our planet often looks like going down in the trenches with people, like they're going through a really challenging experience. Again, I heard about something today that's very new and fresh and alive in our community. And like, we just couldn't talk on the coaches training today. There was a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes there that all of us were just crying because at the human level, it was so challenging to hear that people you care about and love and want the best for are dealing with something so unbelievably tragic in this moment. It was tough. And at the same time, it's like, what's more supportive, what's going down there with them and being in the trenches, or being the energy that's stabilized and resourced and offers support in that moment so that they can build resiliency, emotional intelligence, and strength in order to do that. And so Francisco is asking on these calls, will we receive tools and transformational experiences you will walk us through? We don't really do that in this call, Francisco. Like, this is a way for us to kind of have these larger conversations and give some perspective. It's less about training, because so many of our programs have the training. So if some of you guys are just in digital only trainings, that's totally fine. But we offer a lot of support beyond just digital programs. We have programs as short as 4 months all the way up to a year and a half. And so there's a lot of different ways people can get support in this community, working directly and getting more individualistic feedback. So if you are interested in doing that and you haven't talked to somebody yet, just let us know and we can send you a link so you can have those conversations and find out what that support looks like. But that could be, joining us for a 2-day virtual event that we do every few months, to, really taking on your life and going from somebody who's a practitioner student, from a student to practitioner all the way to mastery. And so we've been doing this a long time. So we have programs designed for all of that, and they're extremely effective at what they're designed for. It's just really up to you and what you're looking for, and the type of commitment level that you want to have. So we can really customize it for you based on what your desires are and needs are. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Zoe, just to kind of answer your question. She asked about the hot tub. Yeah, we call it so there's a experience that people have when they're doing healing work, which is they start experiencing warmth. Like a part of them will be really collapsed, like the heart or the stomach or something like that. And when it opens, so like when we call it nervous system, but a lot of other stuff is happening there too. Like when the system starts to open and it goes into a more arrested state, it's like a flower. It actually opens.
Yep.
And when that happens, often the experience is you start feeling heat in the system, like actual heat. Like there's a palpable shift where it's like it was cool and I was like warm. I imagine the reason that's happening is because energy is starting to flow through the system where before it was constrained, right? It's just like an electrical wire. If there's a lot of energy moving through, you touch the electrical cord, it's going to be warm, right? And so that warmth is an indicator of this flow of energy. Flow of energy we directly correlate with health, right? So emotion, right? Energy and motion. What happens when energy is not motion? It's being frozen, it's being constricted. That discomfort is what the mind is responding to. And so usually with that warmth and that spaciousness, you see that people enter this like naturally calm state. And it's not like they force themselves to get there. The body actually just drives itself in that direction, because everything in this universe, including us, the body, the emotions, are looking for neutrality, right? Everywhere we look, we see balancing, right? There's just balance points. So you want to think like, if my body's disbalanced, if my emotional system is disbalanced, that's why we call it dysregulation. Regulation would be neutrality. Dysregulation is the pendulum is on one side or the other. Okay. And it's really common, as you see in society all the time, we drive to extremes, and our system kind of does that too. Meaning like, you'll see something happen in our society, and then it's like, okay, we figured that out. And then like a generation later, it's like the pendulum swung all the way over here, and suddenly we're discovering this extreme, and then suddenly this extreme. And eventually we kind of find more of this mediation in the middle. And so oftentimes with healing work, it's the same. Like the system will do these modulations, or what we call like a seesaw, where it will kind of begin to pendulum. So like maybe you feel really frozen, right, in a certain place. You have all this pattern that's there, and then as the pattern unlocks, suddenly it's like the anger comes and you just find yourself in this like fury, and it seems to come out of nowhere. And then as the anger gets expressed and that kind of moves through, suddenly you get really emotional and very sad, and this grieving starts to come forward, and it's very spontaneous. And people have these like extremely large emotional releases, and not just people. Like I've had that many a times myself. It's spontaneous and like uncontrollable. Okay. So for those of you who like don't cry, I've never feel anything, like when this stuff happens, it is outside the realm. It's outside the realm of control. It just goes. It just happens, and it's very intense sometimes. And then like the relief at the end of it, it's like you didn't even, your system's been holding on to this stuff for so long, and so when it's ready, it's ready. And to get there, again, not like this is a 3-step process or anything, because again, spontaneous is spontaneous. We don't control that. But the steps, so to speak, for those kind of experiences to occur is really on the back of us just building more safety in the system. Okay. And so you can feel into safety is also the place where the body begins to relax more and more and more. Or like, I don't know about you guys, when I don't feel safe, I'm not particularly relaxed. I'm high strung, right? I'm tight. But when I'm relaxed, the body relaxes. Again, it opens, more energy flow. And so in that stability, what can also occur is bigger releases. It's like the body can actually let go of more because it's more open. There's more placidity, so to speak, right? And so a lot of times when people are, quote, beginning to heal, they're actually increasing their safety, then this experience will come that is like, whoa, where did that come from? And it can be super intense. And like oftentimes people need support when that experience is happening. And to the logical mind, that would be like, well, I thought this work is supposed to make me feel better or, heal me. And we never say that, by the way. We don't talk about feeling better. We just talk about getting better at feeling. And ultimately getting better at feeling is why you feel better. Because when you're not scared of the sensations and experiences that are moving through your mind, through your body, through your emotion, that's what real liberation is. It's not feeling a peak, blissed out, ecstatic experience all the time. It's just being fluid and compassionate with all your experiences. We are not ever trying to move you guys away from being a human being. You are a human being in a physical body with an ego. You're going to have the experiences that a physical body and an ego has. And much of the work many of us have tried to do is to escape this reality in some way, shape, or form, whether it's to create a fantasy in our mind or try to overcome emotions. And none of that stuff works. It's like a nice delusion for like a moment in time, but it doesn't really add up to increased quality of life in any particular way. The real trick, so to speak, is actually embracing every aspect of your humanity in such a holistic way that you're not afraid of any nook or cranny of your humanity anymore. Everything is met with love. Every emotion, every sensation, every mind, every story, every mindset. There's just like, it's like if you want to know God, and we're saying that God is love and that divine connection, and it's okay. Well, that spark is within you, and to know God means to be in the presence of and in the state of love, being received in love. So it's almost like you get to set that example within yourself. You are the spark that gets to meet everything in love. And so everything that's not met in love is fucking pissed off. That's kind of how it goes. So every thought, every action, all these things that we judge and blame ourselves for, and that's what we've been conditioned to do. That's what the work is. It's not that thing is wrong. It's that you were taught that that's not lovable. You were taught that you don't get connection when that thing arises. And that's the distortion. That's the disillusionment that humanity is living in. That there's parts of us that are unacceptable, that we need to get rid of those parts or overcome them in some way or manage them to such a degree that we never experienced them before. Go ask 100 people if they've ever been able to manage an emotion or their mind in any particular way. Everyone's going to say, no, I haven't done that. It's like, have you tried to do that? Yeah, I have tried to do that. Is it working? No, it's not working. Then maybe we're playing the wrong game. That's what we're here for. We're here to teach a different way to play the game. That for most people who are committed to this work will tell you it has completely changed the way that they operate in their world and how they accept the experiences in their lives and how they operate in their relationships and what it does for them in their, financially in their businesses. It opens up this whole thing. And look, when the moment you learn all this, it's not like everything just falls into place. You are now in a transitory place in your life, a place you've never been before. And just like any child who's never been in a certain place before through their awareness, there's discoveries to be had. And that is an ongoing and unfolding experience for all of us. Like Ilan and I are still in a state of discovery. There's a curiousness that is just here. And I always say, just look at the kids, look at children. Before the conditioning is there, look at children. They're living in a state of discovery. They're living in a state of curiosity. It's literally a human's natural state is to be in discovery and curiosity. You want to ask yourself, when did that go away and why did that go away? When did it become not safe to be curious and discover anymore? That'll tell you a lot about how we get conditioned and or traumatized. And, that's the kind of stuff that we get to work through. Let's see what else is here.
Were you doing like Q&A?
No, I mean, I offered that people can throw some stuff in the box, but it hasn't really been like, yeah, I mean, if you want to speak to anything, feel free.
No, I just wasn't sure if you were answering someone's questions or just.
I offered it, if anyone wants to throw something out there, I'm happy to take a look. Zoe, just be okay. So he says, and there's been a fear of letting go for a long time, feeling safe to let the emotions flow is so valuable. I'm not sure what you mean by mine hasn't, but yeah, I mean, that's it, guys. And here's the thing, like, as far as we can tell, healing, transformation, evolution, these are team sports.
I was just talking about that on the call.
Team sports. Trying to evolve yourself or transform yourself, it's like we're so seduced by our distorted reality. Like none of us really know the true nature of reality. You guys get that? Like I know a lot of you guys have experience, you've been alive for a long time, but it's like, what's that line that people say practice makes perfect? It's not true. Practice does not make perfect. What if you have the wrong practice? Like, what if you're, I don't even like baseball, but what you were taught about playing baseball is the right way to swing a bat is to swing it between your legs. And you spent 30 years swinging that bat between your legs trying to hit this damn ball. And you can hit the ball once in a while, but for whatever reason, you can never seem to hit a home run. And so you've perfected this act, but it's not the best way to hit the ball. Like for all we know, they're still going to discover a new way to hit the ball. Like people are just swinging it the wrong way. They haven't thought about it yet. Like I'm always amazed when like a new fad dance catches on. What was it, a few years ago? Like people were like doing the floss or whatever it is. And I always think to myself, I'm like, damn, up until now, nobody's thought to move the body that way. We've had this body for hundreds of thousands of years. Like you would think we would have discovered every way to move this body, but people constantly discover new ways to take the same mechanism and move it in new ways. Doesn't that just like blow your freaking mind? So in the same token, it's like, we don't know the true nature of reality. And the true nature of reality is it's expanding all the time. And there are ripe new experiences available to humanity constantly. That's the multidimensional nature of being a human being. I'm not going to do the floss. I'm not wrong. I'm the wrong person for the job, wrong generation. So it's like, you got to think of that in terms of your reality, in terms of your spirituality. We're also narrowly focused, like horses who've been, got the blinders on, and we can only see this one lane. We think anything outside that lane is not permissible to us. And so we like shun ourselves through blame and shaming and guilting and all this kind of stuff to stay in this very narrow thing. And that's all the conditioning, right? That's the parental stuff. That's school and authority figures and governance and media. It's like all just like, this is the lane, stay in the lane. This is morality. This is what's right. Everything else is wrong. Sinners, heroes, like all this stuff subconsciously feeds you information about what is possible for you. Like the worst question we ask children is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What a dumb question. What a dumb fucking question. Because it elicits a response that destroys curiosity. The child is trying to get the right answer. Oh, I need to figure out who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. It's insane. Right? Our life is about a continuous experience of discovery. For as long as we embody and choose to live or have our time on this planet, you can always change everything. You can always get curious again. You can always start with the best answer ever, which is to say, I don't know, but I'm looking. I'm curious. Transformation begins at the point where you realize you don't know shit. And the wiser you become, literally, the more direct experiences you have, the less you figure out that you know. Because it's so expansive. And I'm going to challenge some of you guys here, because a lot of you, including me and in a previous time in my life, was really righteous and stubborn about the way things are, my role inside of them, and all that kind of stuff. You can continue to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it will keep you exactly where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It will destroy your relationships. It will destroy and move you away from your gifts, and it will close off everything. It will just close off everything. You've decided who you are. You've decided what the world is like. You've decided what politics is. Like, none of these things change because we decide definitively what anything is. If any of you guys have ever been brought to Byron Katie's work, great book. I don't remember the name of the book, but her work is fantastic. And she asked 4 simple questions, and this was like kind of channeled through her. And one of the second question is, do you know that it's true? And the third question is, do you know that it's absolutely true? That's it. And many of us would say, no, I don't know that's absolutely true, but we don't live our lives that way. We live our lives where we absolutely know what's true.
All the time.
All the time. So I absolutely know that I have this disease. I absolutely know what it's going to take to heal it. I absolutely know that I have this mental problem. I absolutely know that my eyes don't work well. Like, okay, the body's so intelligent. So intelligent. It takes your words as literal fact. So, for example, if you find yourself saying something like, I can't stand this, like, I don't like this, your body hears, stop standing. And so the knees, wow, maybe tracking this is weird in this moment. I can actually feel what that does internally. The knees get weak. I imagine if you said that and did kinesiology on your knees, if you say, I can't stand this, you would immediately have no strength in your knees. You're sending a signal to the body to stop standing. When people have like neck pain, for example, if you go look at any energetic book, it'll tell you have a tough time with changing your perspective. Because what changes perspective is being able to look around. So when you are energetically, emotionally unable to change perspective, what happens to the neck? It gets stiff, right? Everything is correlated. Everything is correlated. So now you say, well, I'm a person that just has a stiff neck. You're right. You're right. Absolutely right. And you will continue to have a stiff neck, probably regardless of what you try to do to create therapy around it. And you may get some relief from doing it, but it'll come right back. Because the energetic pattern is what you're reaffirming in the system over and over and over and over and over and over again. So the energy runs in a certain way, and the way that it runs is that it keeps the neck stiff. Now, you can go to the best practitioner in the world, and they won't be able to help you with that. But the moment you get alignment in the energy body, and the emotional body, and the mental body, and the physical body, things repair very quickly because the body's always wanting to repair. Every cell in your body can repair. It's just the way it is. Right? Things go through seasons, just like plants. They die, they live, but it's still there. So we get to get curious about why we're not living longer. We get to get curious about why we're experiencing trauma the way that we're experiencing trauma. And here's the great part about being curious. The answer doesn't matter. Because what is your answer today may not serve you tomorrow. In fact, we used to say that today's breakthrough is tomorrow's ego trip. Today's breakthrough is tomorrow's ego trip. Because what it means is that you have a breakthrough today, and then your ego attaches some meaning to it. And it tries to formulate it into ideas and create a world out of it. And the moment you do that, you're right back into suffering. Because it'll work today, and then tomorrow it'll disappoint you. You'll find a flaw in it. It won't get you the result that you really, really want. And then you're back in the same trap. You go, I must have just looked in the wrong place. I must have created the wrong breakthrough. Let me go get another breakthrough. And then you'll do that over there. Same shit all over again. Right? So like the way out of the rat trap, again, is is acceptance, is surrender. Every teaching ultimately just lends itself to, can you surrender to this? Can you allow this to be here? Can you let
a lot easier said than done.
Yeah. Can you meet it? Can you meet it with love? Nothing but love. And that's the way out. You want to feel transformed. You want to be liberated. And naturally what arises, let's say, is curiosity. You don't care about the answer anymore. You just care about what am I experiencing in this moment and what's coming through that I can intuitively feel, and the thoughts that arise. And that's all we have. We literally only have this moment. So when we can tune into it fully, the experiences always live.
Are you feeling inspired by these podcasts? Is this approach striking a chord with you? Imagine taking this journey even further with personal coaching from Guy and I, right from your own home on Zoom. Join us at our next live event. They happen quarterly. It's an accessible, cost-effective way to dive deep into these transformative practices, not just theoretically, but experientially. Attendees often share that they've experienced unprecedented levels of peace, support, forgiveness, and awareness. Remember, healing isn't just a mental exercise. It must be felt and released through the body. So here's a special gift just for you, our valued listener. Visit intuitivemind.live and use the coupon code OLDSOUL to receive 25% off your ticket. The Intuitive Mind event is unlike any other. So impactful that many participants return multiple times, some as many as 10, 12, even 15 times. Plus, once you register, we'll immediately send you a recording of a previous event so that you can start practicing right away. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to intuitivemind.live, secure your spot for our next live event using the coupon code OLDSOUL, and start your transformative journey today. Now, back to the show.
Always love.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to someone yesterday, and maybe this is where some of you guys are at, but we were talking about, he's a very successful entrepreneur. He's reached all sorts of success in life, and on his way to reach that success comes sacrifice, and you're sacrificing your family and time with your family and time with your wife and all these things, because at the end of the day, the thing inside, right, like the discomfort inside the body, is this unending feeling of some version of I'm not good enough, right? And so then the mind has made up this game of, okay, well, if I just create all this money and success and blah, 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 then I'm going to be good enough. And then we've had so many friends and people that we worked with that, they check the box house and the fancy cars and the fancy vacation house and the boat and then the vacation home and this and that, all in this game to get to this place where they feel good inside. And the problem that they inevitably get to at some point or another is they check all the boxes. They've reached every mountaintop that they've ever created for themselves. And when they reach that final mountaintop and still feel that depth of emptiness or not good enough inside, it really, really throws them for a loop. Because at that point, you're out of ideas. There's nothing else. You're like, well, what else could I possibly do? I've tried everything and I still feel this way. And that's when it really hits home, because the thing that hits is like, whoa, this was always inside of me. And there's nothing that I can do out here to make that go away. And then one of two things happens. Either the person has, what some people call like a midlife crisis, or they go through bouts of depression, or they start taking pills or drink alcohol or whatever it might be to make the feeling stop, because they realize that there's nothing that they can do anymore. There's no amount of money that they can attract. There's no other house they can buy or car they can buy or vacation they can go on that's going to make this thing go away. So then it's like, okay, how do I make this go away? And the easy thing is you go to a therapist or a psychologist, and they're like, take Advan or Xanax or whatever the fuck they give the people today. And it's like, oh, I feel okay again. But do you? It's like the same thing. If you take headache medicine, when you have a headache, does the headache go away when you take the pain medicine? No. What the medicine actually does is it blocks the receptor in your brain that's receiving the signal that there's a pain in your body. That's it. That's all that's happening. The same headache, the same thing that physiologically is happening in the body is still happening in the body. You have just masked the ability to feel it. That's it. And these pills and these sensations are exactly the same thing. Now, the smart ones that don't go that route have a very enlightening moment in their life where they realize that, oh, maybe the answers have not been out here, and chasing more and running faster and harder and all that stuff is not the answer. And they start asking some other questions. Well, if it's not that, what could it be? And it's that curiosity. And that curiosity always brings with it new teachers and teachings and opportunities, if one is willing to open their eyes and their ears and actually listen. And what there is to go through is what there's always been to go through. The lack of self-worth, the lack of I'm good enough or not good enough, the parts about shaming and guilt over, the time lost and what that repercussions mean for you and your family and your relationships, right? Like how much have you sacrificed and not done? And the beauty, and this is what I tell everyone that speaks to me, I'm like, I don't care how old you are. We've been using this same technique on kids since they were 3 years old. We have clients who are in their 80s and everywhere in between. It doesn't matter what trauma you had or how bad your upbringing was and how terrible family life was when you were a kid. None of that matters. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what sexual orientation you are, what other belief. None of it matters, because learning to be with who you truly are and have always been, and falling in love with that and having compassion for yourself and self-love for yourself is the only thing that will actually heal this process and give you freedom and liberation. And I say this all the time. I said at the live event too. If you are looking anywhere outside of yourself, then let me be the one to break it to you. You're just simply looking in the wrong place. When Guy was talking about practices, I think that personal development in all its glory and beauty and the things that it has brought to us has created a terrible plague. And that plague is it has convinced somehow, I don't think it was intentional, but it's convinced people that are on this path that they need to put themselves on their own little island, read the books, watch the videos, do the meditations, all that stuff. And so what's missed is that we cannot create this level of healing by ourselves. We were never intended to. Humans are not a solitary creature. We're not some fucking elephant walking through the wilderness on our own. We're an animal, and this animal lives in tribes, survives in tribes, thrives in tribe. And so personal development is like, okay, everyone to your room and work on yourself. And once you figured yourself out, then you can come back into society. And that is the biggest load of nonsense that has ever been fed to us. And it leads you down these paths that are completely unnecessary and time wasters and just ineffective. And you could talk to anyone in our community that's been doing this work for a while, and I guarantee you within the first 2-3 things that they will tell you is that one of the greatest things that they have learned here is that they don't have to do this on their own. And that the support of others is actually what produces the best results. Most people that have been doing this work with us for, a year plus, like they don't process themselves on their own. They don't do any of that shit. The thing hits and the first response is, hey, who will sit with me? And just feel that for a second. Like, how liberating is that? You don't have to process yourself. You no longer have to figure out why it happened, when it happened, who it happened with. What does it mean? What patterns did it create? Who gives a shit? Doesn't matter. You don't have to remember. You don't have to know any of it. And you can still have more healing than you've ever had in your life. So if you get that, you don't have to do this on your own. If you get that through connection, asking and receiving support from others, you can actually receive the medicine that will heal these things. And if you get that every answer that you've ever wanted is in here, not in here, in here, from your neck down, typically from your neck to your root. That's where every answer that you will ever need is going to be. And if you can learn to navigate this world and understand how the body, even if it's a pain in your head or in between your eyes or a squeezing in the stomach or a weight on your heart, if you realize that all of that is a language and that language is trying to communicate something to you, it doesn't want to be numbed. It doesn't want to be neglected. It doesn't want to be stuffed away in some cabinet somewhere for you to come back later. It wants to be listened to, just like a 3-year-old that wants to be seen and listened to. And if you can learn to listen, step one, and then also attune, so like it's telling you something, okay, what does it need from me? And you can actually meet it and then get the support of other to meet it with you. You're free, like free. And that's not to say that life is not going to keep sending things your way, right? Life is like this, no matter what. It doesn't matter how much work you've done. You know, one of our greatest teachers, and God bless this woman for the amount of effort that she's done, is dealing with incredible physical ailments that I don't wish on my worst enemies. And she lives a healthy, she's the most energetically attuned being I've met. And that's what the universe sent to her, right? Like that's her next initiation. That's her next activation and up leveling in the most crazy way. Again, like I really don't wish it on everybody. And that's what she's being with right now. And she has a team of people and support and all this stuff. So it's like, it's not about not having the waves. It's about when the waves come, how do you ride the waves? Are you expending a ton of unnecessary energy and just trying to like stay afloat and hope for the fucking best? Or did you figure out like, okay, I can grab a longboard and actually enjoy this process, you know, ride some of these waves. And I promise you, when you don't try to resist it or what is happening inside, because the outside world is just doing one thing. It's just highlighting for you the stuff inside that you do not want to deal with. And so if instead of like going inside because it's very uncomfortable and dark in there, if instead your life is, okay, I just need to change my outside world, right? That's a lot of energy to try to move and fix and change all this stuff outside, change people, change your circumstances, and change your job, change your location that you live, change your hair, change your this, change your that. It's like, that's a lot of work and effort. And if the universe sent you that signal because it wants this thing to be witnessed and felt, right? It doesn't matter what you change out here. That's your life's journey. Dealing with what's inside, that's your life's journey. So guess what? You change things and what? It improves for what? A week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, then it comes back. And then all this effort and all this work that you did out there, you're like, motherfucker, how am I still here? I thought I fixed it. And it's like, oh, it must not be that. Let me fix this other thing. Oh, I'm in a relationship. Okay, I need to get out of a relationship. Oh, I live here. Oh, okay, maybe if I move there. Oh, I maybe I eat too much meat. Okay, now I got to eat all veggies. Maybe I eat too much veggies. Okay, now I got to eat. It's like none of it makes a difference. Whatever is happening in your life right now, think of like the thing that is weighing on you the most. And in this moment, just in this moment, like bring it to your mind's eye, and in this moment, feel where you feel a heaviness or a contraction, or some of you might feel like a sucker punch to the stomach, or a collapsing around your neck, or a weight on your heart, or a tightening in your soul. Like just feel where it lives in your body. And that, whatever you are sensing that, two things about it. One, it's not new. This is not a new sensation. You're like, oh my God, Ilan, I've never felt this before in my life. Said no one ever to me. They're like, oh yeah, I know this. For those people that have stomach stuff, your stomach has been running you for decades. You deal with stomach issues and acid reflux issues and IBS issues and all the things that happen with the stomach. For those that have the heart, like you have felt that constriction and heaviness on your heart for as long as you can remember. And the thing is that like your life and the way that it's unfolding is waves of it trying to be shown to you. So guess what? If you deal with sadness and grief and whatever in your heart, right? Like there's like aloneness, then guess what? Your entire life is going to be moments to moments to moments that keep reliving the same pattern. People leaving you, people leaving you, people leaving you, people leaving you. And then you think that there's something wrong with you. So you like keep trying to change shit, but it's like, it's not that. All there is to do is just sit with the sadness and the loneliness in your body. And then layer by layer by layer by layer by layer by layer by layer, it shifts, it changes. And all of a sudden it's like life has to show up differently for you because it is always an energetic match for what's happening inside. And so if you don't like what's happening on the outside, stop fucking around with the outside. You tell me, is this wrong? Like, I'm sure every single person on here, you have tried to change and manipulate your outside world for a very long time. You tell me, how does it work? And if the answer is it doesn't work, which whether you've been doing it a short time or a long time, you're going to come to that conclusion. Then it's not that you're doing it's not perfect practice. It's like Guy said, it's just the wrong practice. You're just on the wrong playing field. So we move you to the right playing field. And yeah, it's gonna feel clumsy. If any of you have learned a second language at, a later time in life, not when you were like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, then it's easy. You don't even think about it. But if any of you tried to pick up a language, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever it is, it's confusing. You feel like an idiot. Nothing makes sense in the beginning. All these sounds that you can't even understand. And after a while, you practice, and it's like, okay, it starts making sense. So what if you just got that the inside language is just that, just a new language. And in the beginning, it's okay. You're going to feel like an idiot. I don't know what this means. What is that? What is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? What is this? Then eventually you're like, that's that. This is this. Oh, this wants that from me. Oh, that wants this from me. And then it becomes easy. And then the inevitability of life, which life is going to keep coming, throwing those waves, it's not a big deal anymore. My motto for a long time has been, oh, and now this. Oh, and now this. I'm not attached. I'm not trying to push it away. And granted, there's definitely things that my mind likes and things that my mind does not like. There's things that my mind wants more of, and there's things that my mind wants to stop immediately. But I don't let that run me now because I can be with whatever the sensation is. It's not good or bad. It's just, oh, this is trying to communicate something to me. Let me listen. Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Udom says, people used to make me feel guilty for feeling. That was wild. Now I just mind my business and go sit with whatever comes up. Literally saved my life. Sitting in the terrifying. Yeah. And it's, to what Dr. Udom's pointing to, it's like, it's going to sound crazy to some of you, but you actually get to this place where sitting in terror or sitting in grief or sitting in rage or anger actually becomes, in a weird way, pleasurable. Not because the sensation itself, not like terror. It's like, woo, sign me up. I'll take a double dose of terror. Not that. It's just that you're in awe of the ability that you've cultivated through these practices to be able to feel terror at that magnitude and not be jumping off a cliff, right? Or like, shutting down in all the ways that you're just shut down, where you can actually sit and witness it and be like, wow, that's so much terror moving through my body. But you're there and you're present for it. It's like in Fight Club where he's like, don't go into your fucking cave. Be here right now, right? It's like...
I watched it yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, just the other day, I said to Fanny, I was like, let's watch Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go into your cave. This is your pain. This is your life. Searing, burning.
I like what you said. It's like, it's not what you can deal with. It's what you can be with.
Yeah.
It's so great. That's the point, right? It's like, we have not built the capacity to be with much because the judgments and all that kind of stuff, right? It's not about, your resiliency is not about the circumstances that you can handle. It's how can you be with the internal experience around that circumstance and love yourself through that experience. Like, nobody controls what's happening.
Yeah.
Nobody controls what's happening. Like I said, so many crazy things happen to people that Ilan and I have been witness to and sat with and got to support them through. And it's like with the best people, most loving people go through really tumultuous experiences. None of that stuff guarantees anything. Nothing. Right? Like, what most of us value is our internal experience. And unfortunately for most of us, our internal experience is so distorted and feels so unsafe.
Make you big.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That we've just not, we've not built a capacity to be with life as it's arising within us. Cause that's really where life arises. It arises within us and then gets reflected outside of us. Think about, just really feel into how experiences come. You value what's happening inside of your system. Even when you go on vacation, even when you try to get away, even when you try to relax, it's like, what are you valuing? What's happening inside? I think we'll just wrap up with one quick question here. Alicia was asking about, how are the ego and self-worth related or distinct?
Broski, I'm just going to drop off because I got a call at the top of the hour. So.
Do what you got to do. Check out with me afterwards. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she was asking, like, what's the relationship or how is it distinct? Well, here's the thing, right? And I responded, I don't know if you saw that, but the mechanism of ego, its concern is preservation. That's pretty much it. It's here to help you survive in third dimension reality, right? It's the one that's looking out here, alarm bells and dealing with all that. Self-worth is not going to come from that mechanism. You can't think your way into self-worth. Just can't do it. You've tried. So you tell me, I'm not here to convince you of anything. Please use your interpersonal experience and tell me if you've been able to tell yourself, I'm so worthy. I'm so worthy. I'm so worthy. And then do you come out worthy at the other end? Maybe for a moment in time, you feel a little bit better as it's on repeat, but how long can you repeat I'm so worthy before life just happens again? Right? Self-worth, safety, well-being, connection, love, all these things that people really desire to have in large quality and quantity in their life is not something you can think your way into. Just not. You cannot understand it. There's no book that's going to explain it to you in a way that's going to have it be present in your life all the time. Again, you don't have to believe me. Please look at your own life experience. However, these things can spring forward, meaning they just arise within you. How do they arise within you? They arise through our presence. Because when you are sitting with something terrifying, for example, and you're willing to be present with it, willing to be seen with it in presence while that's happening, once it moves through, what you will be left with is an experience of love. And when we talk about self-worth, connection, safety, all these are really just other expressions of love. Said another way, if God is love, it's just another expression of God, right? So these are not things that you have to worry about or think about or try to ascertain in your life. What you want to do is cultivate presence. Presence simply means being with what's arising. It's very simple, not easy. It takes a lot of practice, committed practice. It takes sitting with other people regularly in presence with each other to notice the qualities of presence, because it's so vast what that means. It's not this one singularity point. And again, those things arise in an experience of being presence. So what we want to cultivate is not those things, is actually the presence that allows for those things to naturally arise in your system. Like we talk about safety and well-being here all the time. I have zero desire in teaching you, though, how to get to safety and well-being. It is literally impossible to take a 5-step program and process and have you feel more safe at the end of it. Because I know that, again, it arises naturally as a byproduct of presence. So the only thing to focus on is the presence, and then let those things naturally arise. And then you won't believe how much more safe you feel and how much more well-being you experience in every moment of your life. And it wasn't because you understood something. Self-realization is very different than understanding something logically. Self-realization is something that happens through direct experience of looking and glimpsing and looking and glimpsing and looking and glimpsing over and over and over and over and over again, thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, until one day realization just happens. Realization is a spontaneous thing. It just arises. You guys have all had this experience where you've heard something 5,000 times, but for whatever reason, on this day, when you heard it, it just lands different. Like a bell goes off and you're like, oh, wow, I don't know why that's different, but today it feels different. That's realization. That's the quality of realization, not the understanding of realization. And so it's totally fine when people ask, how do I this, how do I that? But look, I have 3 questions that people ask today, and they're all pretty much, how do I do this? And I could tell you, if you are asking a how do I question, you're not asking, the ego is asking. And it's a better chess player than you, and it will put you into loops and weird configurations as you try to figure out how to do it, instead of accessing what I'm telling you, which is through presence. All this just spring forward naturally. You don't have to work on it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to put yourself in pressure. You don't have to try to manage your mind from doing crazy stuff or not having that conversation. You know, Stacy, I know you come on here a lot trying to manage your mind. You're not going to learn how to do that. I'm not going to teach you how to do that because you can't manage your mind. Notice the effects of reality. Things are spontaneously arising. Your thoughts are spontaneously arising. Your emotions are spontaneously arising. Your circumstances are spontaneously arising. That might give us a clue into the true nature of reality. So love you all. Thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. All the best.
Thank you, dear one, for choosing to share a bit of your day with us. We value you greatly. And as a way to give back and help you to deepen these practices, we want to invite you to join our incredible community on Facebook. You can do so easily by going to joinoldsouls.com and ask for an invite. This is our private community where old souls and seekers are able to grow and share their journey with others. We hold exclusive weekly live streams, we answer your personal questions, and offer valuable insights that we won't be able to share here on the podcast. So again, just head to joinoldsouls.com and grab your invite today. And as always, if you enjoy this podcast, please head to iTunes and leave us a review. It's the only way other people can find this show. So if it's making a difference in your life, please share the love. Until we meet again, have an amazing week, dear one.